Today's Thursday, May 25th, 2017. And today's show is going to have a little bit of an old school feel. Joey Varner will be in studio with us today. Dann Stupp, Danny's here. George will jump on here a little later. But it's got a little old school feel because today we're doing our Hall of Fame show, or our Hall of Fame ceremony after our show. And Joey shared with me a post that I guess 5 years today, or 5 years ago today.
5 years ago today.
We did our first Hall of Fame. That's
Well,
crazy.
You know what? Actually, let me change that.
No. Yeah.
5 years today. 5 years ago today, the picture was posted. So I don't know if it was actually the. Does this mean by time, huh?
Apparently now it's me and you.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I wasn't here 5 years ago. I don't know.
So yes, 5 years ago today at Texas Day, Brazil, shit got real, as it always does at a buffet like that. Would you call that a buffet? Texas
It's a
Day,
Brazilian buffet.
Yeah.
That's what I was told at least.
Okay. So yeah, 5 years ago today, the first MMAjunkie Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm getting emotional.
Are you coming to Texas Day, Brazil tomorrow?
I believe so.
Awesome.
Yes.
They've been talking about that place. I've been working on the show for over 2 years now, and they've been talking about that place and hyping it up. And I never thought I was going to be here, and they didn't think I was going to be here.
I know that guy.
Just grabbing your Twitter handle.
He's a good-looking dude.
Nobody else can see who you're pointing to.
One.
Dann Stupp brought up the Twitter for Joey Varner, and Joey Varner just leans and goes, "I know him."
I was just blocking him on.
yeah. So you're first time you're gonna get Texas Day Brazil de-virginized.
Right.
Damn.
And then I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna miss it and I'll never see it again.
But you're in New York, right?
Yeah.
They have them in New York, don't they?
I don't think so.
They have. I've been. They have Via Brazil, which they have a Via Brazil here. It's a steakhouse here in New York, though. I think it's just a restaurant. And we went to the restaurant. The restaurant I liked way better than the. Hey, GG.
I thought George.
Good, brother. How are you?
They sped it up, so.
10 seconds. Here we go.
Here we go.
Say what?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to, or? Because I could probably take one call.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
All right, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
Live from the Race and Sportsbook here at the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino, you are listening and watching MMAjunkie Radio live here. It's a great day. Today is Thursday, May 25th. I am Goes. George will be joining us in a second. We have stand-up still in town, still alive. I don't know how he's doing it because he's not really sleeping. Joey Varner, a blast from the past. He's back. Clay Guida's fart, also known as Danny. He's joining us as well. Producer Danny.
Wow.
It's been good to have you here, man.
It's been good. I keep saying this, but it's becoming more and more true. I may never leave.
Yeah?
I might just, as soon as Sunday comes around, I'm just going to get a sleeping bag and sleep here. I'll be
Dan
here Monday
joked
morning.
around that maybe they just forgot to buy your ticket back.
Oh,
And
they did.
As weird as it sounds, like I could see that happening. Everybody's
It's
just going,
trusted
all right,
and
we're putting
lackey,
in,
yeah.
And somebody goes, did anybody get him back? And Danny's just stuck here. It's a good place
I'm
to
just-
start a band. It's
Just
Las
here
Vegas.
now. Yeah.
Danny, what'd you think of yesterday? We had our, I guess our second day of our MMA Junkie Radio gathering. Went to the Las Vegas escape room, and then we went to Beer Park.
That was awesome. I had never been to an escape room, period. So I didn't know what to expect. So I'm like in there, and I'm like in my head. I've known people before that have gone to escape rooms, and they were like, just feel around the walls. If you find a light switch, flip it on, because a lot of people don't think about light switches. So I'm like telling everybody, I'm like, this is our strategy. If there's a light switch, we're flipping it, like no matter what. And that strategy went out the window when I got locked in a little box. It was me, because in ours, you didn't do ours. So there were two different escape rooms, and so two groups did one and two groups did the other. And in ours, when you go into the little lobby, they explain to you that 3 people have to go into a small room, and the other group goes in the other room. And they don't tell you what it is. They just like 3 brave people have to go in first. And I got nominated. It was me, Aaron Menard, and Lucas from New Zealand.
Oh, man.
And we just got shoved in a room, and it's pitch black. And we're just like feeling walls, and we're looking through little windows and stuff like that. And we didn't know how we were going to get out.
So one of our callers, John from Seattle, he was the all-star, I think, of the whole thing. And I got to hang out a little bit with the owner, and he has like just the master control. He sees every room, and he's kind of telling the actors in their ear what they need to do. But he was laughing his ass off, and I had asked him, what's going on? He goes, this little dude from Seattle, he goes, first of all, he got locked.
Sorry. The owner knew the little dude was from Seattle?
We had to write for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, he's good.
He tells me, he goes, first of all, the guy got locked in a coffin. And I guess in the coffin, something came after him.
No.
So he freaked out in there. And then he jumped over a bed. He goes, I've seen people jump on the bed. He goes, I've never seen anybody clear the bed.
You had in one of the it was a bunch of different like puzzles and stuff. And one of the puzzles was somebody had to get in the coffin, and you had to close it, and it had a false back. But they're talking to him in like over like a little speaker while he's in the coffin, and they're like giving him shit too. They're like, you could be locked in here for 2 minutes or 10. He's like, what? And they go, it's gonna be 10. And they started like laughing, and he's like screaming in the coffin and like banging on the door, but it's locked.
That's the best part, is like the place is somewhat big, but it feels small, and all you were hearing was just screaming. You're just thinking, what the hell is going on in that room?
Yeah.
But it was mostly him. You'll meet him today, Joe. You get a kick out of
We
this.
really thought that like they handed him a piece of paper and said, play it up, start screaming or something like that, because that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
It really sounded like he was getting like beaten up or murdered or something in the next room.
Then at one point, he took off his shirt, and I guess
There's
there's a part where you have to stick a fork in an electrical outlet. And
That was
he
one
didn't
of the other
trust
puzzles, yeah.
So he
We thought
took
it was
off his
real.
shirt and wrapped it, because everybody knows shirt, that blocks electricity.
Right?
He used
That's
the
what I
hat, too.
heard.
He used
And,
that.
yeah, so he came out all sweaty, no shirt. We didn't know what the hell happened to him, man. But it was a good time. Afterwards, we went to Beer Park. We all had some food, some drinks. And then we headed back over here to what I guess was the 4th event that we didn't know about. We just hung out.
That's
and
cool.
We stayed pretty late until this bar closed. Then went to another one, tried to close that bar. And, yeah, here we are today, though. You look outside. Those are the Warriors there that answered the bell, hanging out. And today's show, let's get to some MMA. Vinc Pichel will be on the show. Matthew Lopez will be on the show. We may have a surprise guest lurking around there. I think that's what George is working on over there. But it'll be a fun show. You guys are welcome to call in, talk about whatever you like. We haven't really gotten to the card all that much. I really wanted to do that a little bit more today, UFC Fight Night 109, especially with a guy like Joey Varner who can break down these fights. Joey, early on, what can you tell us about the main event? Alexander Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira. Have you made up your mind yet? Have you played it out in your head?
Yeah.
I have a lot of different scenarios of how this can work out.
This is a fight I've been excited for a long time. Stylistically, before it was ever made, it's one of those fights that when both guys were kind of in their rise in the division, you're always, I want to see that fight. I want to see that fight. I want to see that fight. And now we get to see it. Both guys been knocked out by Anthony Johnson. Both guys really solid strikers, like to stand and trade. To me, the difference in this one is I know Glover cuts a lot of weight. And to me, Glover, I don't want to say he's not reaching his potential, but he just always looks a little sluggish to me. I don't know. He looks like if he was 10 pounds lighter, didn't cut so much weight, he'd be a much more effective, higher output, better conditioning, faster, faster to the punch, faster to moving his head, faster everywhere the fight goes if he was a light heavyweight. But he just looks slow. He always looks sluggish to me, like just one step behind what he should be. And for that reason, I like Gus in this. I think Gus is quicker. I think he's longer. I can see him just, picking off that jab, firing at range. If he fights a smart fight, I think Gus should take this. That's my initial take.
MMA is a little bit of a soap opera. You tell a story with it. What does this story tell for you in the UFC's eyes? Who do you think they're hoping comes out of this fight, and what are they hoping to do with that winner?
I think either way it's a win-win because they've got it's depth in that division. So if Gus wins, we set up – Gus had a great fight with Daniel Cormier. We set up another fight with potentially DC or John Jones down the road. The loser of John Jones versus Cormier, we could see him versus the loser of this fight. I think is going to be Glover. So I just think there's a lot of potential matchups to make exciting fights down the road, no matter who wins in this fight.
Dan, how do you see it breaking down? And through the UFC's eyes, what do you think they want to see come out of this?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know we talked about it a little yesterday, and kind of, for our staff picks, I went with Glover, and I wish I had a good reason. I was hoping Joey would say something to kind of back up my idea that Glover would win, and now I regret that pick. But I don't know. I think if the UFC saw Glover as like this big marketable contender, we would have kind of seen it by now, and it seems like right when he gets that spot where he could take that next level, he kind of falters. So I think this is kind of a do or die for Glover because it's going to be hard for him to kind of get there because things are starting to, with DC or with Jones coming back and the DC fight, like that's one of those divisions where one key loss could really send you back for a year or two, before you get that shot again. So I don't know. I still think over the course of 5 rounds with his power, Glover, could connect and get the win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC officials are secretly thinking, and we really need Lusty Gusty to win this one.
Yeah. What's funny is Cormier's been on the show, and he's talked about the one guy that he just doesn't want to see again, and that's Gustafsson.
Yeah.
That's
I think John Jones is saying that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a nightmare for a lot of people. But I'll tell you what, guys, you can call into the show 866-522-2846. We're going to take a quick commercial break and reset. Gorgeous George is out there. What is it? They putting Vaseline on his face, or is that sweat?
Yeah, apparently.
Not his face. Not his face.
Not his face?
No.
All right, we're going to take this quick break. We will be right back on MMA Junkie Radio here on Sirius Channel 93.
a little bit, and mostly excessive drinking, Like just.
Oh, they were feeling it.
People acting rude a little.
Yeah, that's no
I
bueno.
am still living with your ghost, lonely and dreaming of the West Coast.
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home? That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here George and goes.
It's Thursday. I'm back. Danny Oker's bowed out. Danny Oker's. Doesn't that sound like one of those little hick, down south things?
Danny Okers.
Okers. I was giving him a hard time. That's our producer, man.
I know.
Yeah. He came out. It was a shocker. It was a surprise. We loved it, man. The Junkie Nation. I was just telling Joey, I had Yellow Card Junkie Nation on social media. But that was actually an occasion where Junkie Nation, just rose and did something super cool. Having the producer come out and hang with us. We've talked to this guy every day for 3 years and finally got to meet him in person. How you been, Joey?
I've been good. Wait,
Yeah.
I'm a little parched. Hold on, sorry.
Okay. Oh, put down that OJ.
Nice. Stone Cold Steve Varner over here, huh?
Okay, anyways, yeah.
All right, what'd you guys cover? So I don't want to be
Gus
repeating.
and
Gus and Teixeira, yeah.
Yeah.
Solid fight. Just
Glusser.
a division that needs a good fight, and hopefully Jones and Bader can keep it going. And then, Bader and Davis, and then Jones
Did
and
I miss
Cormier.
something?
So we have like about a 6-week stretch where we could have some really good, solid fights at what used to be the marquee division years ago, and just has gone away and is not too deep. And Sertnikov also fights on this card. I like him. Really impressed with Misha Sertnikov. So we'll see what happens there. Did you guys catch Tough?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so luckily we recap it, and they do a great job of almost making you feel like you saw it. I'm here at the Luxor, so I had no DVR or anything. But what stood out is obviously the domination of TJ Dillashaw's team over Cody Garbrandt's team. Now, some will say, hey, look, we only had 6 weeks with them, but something has to be said for one team's up 6-0. I mean, they're doing something right.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you – okay, so you've seen it from – I don't know if you ever made it into the house as a coach, but I've seen you at the tryouts.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you've obviously seen it, been on the other side as a producer. Are those coaches really putting that type of blueprint where one team can be just better than the other team, whether it was just they drafted better, which means they paid attention more to the – is that what it is?
It's always – look, go back and watch the first episode. TJ just outpicked. I mean, I forget who TJ picked first, but then
James Krause, I think, right?
Was it Krause?
Oh, we have it. We can look it up.
And then TJ picks up. You figure it's going to be Jesse Taylor or someone. It was. Not TJ. Cody just made bad picks. I thought when the picks were happening, I'm like, damn, TJ's going to wreck. And that's what a lot of times it comes down to the picks, not just who you pick as fighters, but also the fight matchups.
Yeah.
But
Galicchio versus Gordon. That was that was an awesome call. I thought Gordon was going to smash, honestly. But Galicchio pulled it off, and I think that was a 7 taken out of 2, and the 8 took out the 1.
Yeah. The best thing about that is, though, Gordon's middleweight dropping down to – and Galicchio, he's really a 45er.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he did tough at 55. I know,
yeah.
but he's on set. So you got a 55er, a lightweight beating a middleweight. That's the best. And Tom's such a good dude, man. Eddie Gordon's cool too, but I you know how there's certain people that's kind of you got a soft spot for.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you used to hold pads at the tough tryouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that like some of your hardest, worst days because your arms are just getting killed over and over? And you're getting hit, right? Lots of guys are missing.
That's it. It's not the arms getting killed. I mean, that's just, back in the coaching days, that was all day just holding pads, blah, 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 whatever. But calling for a body kick, and the guy, I've been kicked in the head at, a couple times at every tryout I would hold for.
You said body and they kicked head? Wow.
Boom,
is it just nerves, or the guys are rusty and young? Or
nerves. You get a guy who's and he's ready to go. He wants to show, and he's so tense, and he's trying to do good, and they're just all over the place. For most of these guys, when they start hitting pads on that floor, where they're at mentally and their adrenaline and everything, it's the same
fight
thing.
night.
Yeah, it's fight night. It's exactly it. They're in that same state of mind, that same frame, or they'll miss the pad, they'll kick the elbows, or so sometimes it's not very fun.
Are you still producing?
We'll see.
Okay. Did you have anything to do with this season?
No, I didn't work. I didn't work this season.
What was the last season you worked?
One before it. I forget what number that was.
All right. Is that
Yeah,
fun seeing it through that point of view, or is it more of a job?
No, it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I don't like the house. I don't like the house as a producer, and I don't like the house as watching the show.
Okay.
I like the gym. I want to see the gym. I want to see them training. I want to see the coaching. I want to see the fighting. That's what I like. I don't like, and the thing, it's hard because a lot of the reality show excitement of the show was the drama at the house, but for the most part, I'm saying, the drama's not there anymore like it used to be. These are all professional athletes. You don't have to see people, waking up and cracking a beer.
Right.
They're
that would be unprofessional, yeah.
They're there to make
the Bud Light sponsorship.
yeah. But they're there for the opportunity, and they're treating this as a professional career. So you don't get the same shenanigans that made the house your typical reality TV show kind of house drama.
Right.
So
do you like the male and female seasons where there's the possibility of just flirtations or the hookups? And could they do anything like put them in the real world suite, or something like that just to spice it up in that direction, even though I know it would get away from, hey, I thought this was a professional sport?
We had a couple co-ed seasons, and aside from, I'm trying to think who had a crush on Pena with Anthony.
Cody or Holdsworth?
No, it was Holdsworth.
It was Holdsworth.
He
yeah.
got a lasagna baked for him or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So aside from that, there's really been no. Think about it. There's been no fraternization. No kind of. Everyone's they're professionals. They're focused, and so my thoughts with the show has always been, or the last few years more and more, is that we need to move more into a better way to capture. The drama in the house and stuff. It just doesn't appeal to me, and I think it doesn't appeal to a lot of your diehard fight fans anymore.
Is that the hardcore martial artist inside of you speaking?
I think no, because I think
strike a nerve with that.
Maybe it is, but also I think I think I don't know. You stump me. Maybe it is.
I hemmed you.
I don't like.
I think the fighters deserve better. Like, that used to tell their stories. The old seasons of Tough, and like you said, I don't think anyone's tuning in for the drama and stuff like that. It just, if you're going to go on, the whole point of going on The Ultimate Fighter was to get the exposure, to introduce you, and with the ratings as low as they are now, especially with the move to FS1 and stuff, I think to a lot of fans, casual fans, they don't watch the show, and a guy will spend weeks of his life kind of trapped in the tough house, come out of it, and really not have any more exposure than he had when he, before he went into it. So I think they really need to shake up the format and find a new way to do it.
What is it? 175, 200,000? That's what they're getting viewers each week.
Yeah, and
that's it.
Yeah.
Even with Dillashaw doing the
yeah,
eagle,
but you got to think about this.
Garbrandt?
Yeah, the
eagle.
Is that what it's called?
I think
Eagle
we called him. I grabbed him like an eagle. I swooped in like an eagle and grabbed the snake by his neck.
I refer to that still as Joe Rogan's, the rape choke.
Oh.
Are we allowed to know the cape?
The
cape.
Get him out of here.
The cape rope. Damn it! Blackballed from another event.
How would you improve it?
I don't know.
A 10-point system like Andy Foster.
No, I would like to see. I would do it completely different. There wouldn't be a house.
Okay.
It would be, it would be almost like countdown specials. You got your brackets. Maybe you keep the fighters at their hometown gyms and their teams. You tell that story. Maybe you got a couple fighters from each gym, but you got a camera crew there. You got a camera crew at each gym, and we do a countdown special. We introduce the cast, how many they are, and it cuts, back and forth from each person, little intro packages,
right?
And then there's a seating bracket, and then we just play it out. But each thing is done from their own hometown, and they have to fly in here to see. Then you get into logistics because flying here to fight gets tough, and it's a tough.
So get it. But you do want them out of the house somehow.
I don't like the house. I don't think the fans like the house anymore.
Yeah,
the house
there's
isn't
no
working.
appeal of that anymore.
I actually had an idea for a show that was just. It was like the audition almost, like two fighters fighting in local promotions. They get a shot to fight in the UFC, and so they have to fight each other. And so you do, 8-minute background package on one fighter, tell his story, where he's from, home follows type stuff. Cut to 8-minute package, for the other fighter, countdown specialist with the music, with the shots, with the look. Tell this guy's story, what he had to go through to get there. in the center, and then whoever wins gets a shot at the UFC. And that's just it. There's no season. There's just an episode of that.
I think that's kind of what they're doing with that weekly series, that the Contender series. I could almost see the Ultimate Fighter and that becoming one thing. Like I think that's a much better format where like a UFC contract is literally on the line. And that was a big knock of Tough back in the day. It was like, okay, the winner gets a UFC contract, and by the second or third season, we realized, okay, pretty much all these guys are getting contracts. But it sounds like the Contender series is going to be a lot more kind of the young and the raw guys who haven't established themselves, and this is going to be their first kind of spotlight of all. I've actually heard a few of the names, who could be on that Contender series, and Access TV events and stuff where you may be familiar with the names from there and stuff, but I think that's more what fans want these days, is like that Contender series where they're actually fighting for something and not just getting drunk in a house.
Basically,
and see what happens.
An LFA or a CES or something like that, like their main event.
Yeah, like
what would be their main event, but now it's
even some even the LFA events and stuff. They've got some solid co-headliners, and they're even getting to the point where like they kick off the main card with what they know is going to be a really good fight. Even if
a lot of people came through what used to be RFA and LFC is now LFA. And when you think back to Derek Lewis and Holly Holm and Henry Cejudo, and on the other side we have let me see here. They literally boasted 40 each from each promotion, where their main events were starting to become like more meaningful than, I guess, just a fight on Tough.
Right.
Yeah. Or if it was a Friday night, like sometimes the LFA.
But what he did was basically allow the other two to run the ship with his occasional input. But I have heard that he's still, name is still on there.
Good on him.
Yeah, I mean, think about the year he's having,
right?
You guys run this, I'll get a piece, and I'll go matchmake. Now, I don't know how stressful matchmaking is. Dan was saying yesterday he's talked to Joe Silva, and after hearing, what he had to go through, he would never do it.
Ben Folks wrote a really good story probably 3 or 4 years ago when we did that special edition, 25 Most Powerful People in MMA, that special publication through USA Today. It was one of the few times the UFC let Joe Silva and Sean Shelby sit down with a reporter and talk about the job. And Ben produced a couple really good stories out there. And I think there was one, like a headline, something like, it's the coolest job you really don't want, because people don't understand all that goes into it. And so much of it's just babysitting and dealing with the contract issues and syncing up schedules to get the fights you need and the injuries and things like that.
You did that, right, for a while?
Yeah.
And you got a taste of it.
I
Did
didn't
you love
have
it
to
or did you hate it?
No, I liked it. It was. I thought it was good, but I didn't have to deal with it on that level.
Right.
2-3 shows. That's it. And they were spaced out.
There's no vacation there. You can't walk away from that.
Not at that level, no. Yeah,
and not to mention, these guys are all over the world too. Everyone's on different time zones. It really is 24 hours a day.
Would you have liked to take a position like that if you had known the UFC, was open to it before they committed to Maynard?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've talked to Sean a lot about his travel schedule and what he goes through, and I'm just like, no thanks, man. It's not worth the money. I can make more money working less and less stress. I mean, like you said, it's the coolest job that you don't want.
Yeah.
That sums it up,
But I heard, more power to you. I thought Joe did well. I thought he banked well and then also got a piece. And I don't know if Sean's got a lucrative contract or a deal like that, but I thought it paid well. I really did.
I think it's the time
and honestly,
that's
not to put.
You're not going to get any younger.
Well,
but think about.
I heard them too once also say it's also not as difficult as you think. I think the firing and the bullshit is the worst part, but as far as like the matchmaking, like a lot of times it's done via Twitter or it's like certain call outs or just some of them are like slam dunks, and I think where it gets complicated, they also get an assistance from Dana White. Like a lot of the main events and co-main events are being done over here, and he's putting together the rest of the card, but he says a lot of them are like really, really easy too.
Well, I actually tried to pick Joe's brain a few years ago about, the process, what his process was. Are you looking at stylistically, trying to match up, making sense? And he said, no, I'm just look at what makes sense.
Yeah.
Where this guy's the division, this guy's here, okay, that makes sense. And so that part isn't, I don't think that doesn't take a rocket scientist, but it's that schedule. It's that grind. It's your phone's going off at 4 a.m., 2 a.m. You got to answer it. You're on a flight on Thursday or Wednesday. You fly back Sunday. You come to the office on Monday. You leave again on Wednesday. Maybe you don't even come home. Maybe you're on the road for 3. It's a grind, man. It's a 24-hour job, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, however many days there are in a year. 360
I think it's
something.
365 or
There you
6
go.
or every 4 years. All right.
I always get thrown off.
Justin in
laughing when
Australia.
Somebody calls somebody a rocket scientist. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's been like since we were kids, right? There's got to
Right.
be something better than that. The guy in North Korea,
A
the guy to be like,
nuclear-
good one, rocket scientist.
Justin in Australia. How you doing, mate?
Rock and roll, mate. How are you?
Good, thank you.
That's good. Am I on already?
Yeah, you're on.
Beautiful. All right, sorry guys. There's a slight time delay and it's kicking my butt. So I'm going to try and say what I wanted to say, and I'll get out of here. And at the end of my call, you guys can marvel at how wonderful and on point I am. I wanted to talk briefly about Angela Magana and Chris Cyborg. And man, I feel so strongly about this. I literally took a day off, got up at 3:15 in the morning to ring you guys. And also, I'm calling from the future, so I need to get out. This ties in as a stun gun for Marco, you fucking walnut. When all this rubbish went down at the Fighter Summit, and I'm not sure what the reaction initially was, but the UFC is a company that puts a lot of time and investment into doing anti-bullying programs and making sure that everyone gets a fair shot. And Angela Magana, who has hounded relentlessly this lovely woman, Cyborg, and she, put that picture on of the puppet from Saw and saying how much they look alike, and then, afterwards she's like, oh, I didn't realise it was at a cancer ward. Well, you know what, man, it doesn't fucking matter where it was. It was a horrible thing to put up there, and, just the fact that her father, I think Cyborg's father, is suffering with cancer, is beside the point. It was just a shitty thing to do. And so when a bully finally gets stood up to, which is what happened when Cyborg confronted Magana, and she got her whole fucking shit all busted up in the face, and all of a sudden Magana thinks it's okay to press charges and talk about, the size difference or something like that. Well, I think what we actually need to be doing is putting Cyborg up on a pedestal, because from the accounts that I've heard, when she approached Magana, all she wanted to do was sort of talk about it, and all Magana could keep saying to her was, fuck you, I'll say whatever I want. So I applaud Cyborg, and I think Marco needs to get a bigger straw to, suck up to the UFC a little bit harder. But he was saying that Cyborg's a woman that has a history of being difficult to deal with. Well, that's coming from a guy whose credibility in Dana White has become a running joke. Man, you can't believe anything that guy says. So just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it, especially if your thoughts coincide with my thoughts. Otherwise, keep them to yourself.
All right, Justin, thank you for calling in, man. He's called in at 3 a.m. from Australia.
What?
Damn, that's dope.
Do we know what a walnut is? Is that like really bad, or is that just
I've never.
It's a brown shape. It looks like a brain. You crack it open with a nut. That's what a walnut
Thanks,
is.
Joey.
Got you.
Quick thoughts on Magana and Cyborg and what's happened as of late.
I think they both handled it horribly. Like, there's no it's not a good guy, bad or good girl, bad girl. You can't just punch people who
Right.
piss you off. I don't blame her. So it's
That's not a lawsuit punch. That's not a felony punch. That's not an anything punch. I think someone just got checked. Honestly.
You were kind of asking for this.
Kind of, yeah.
But it's still, you can't do that, So I think it'd be nice if both of them could act a little more like adults. And I get what he was getting at. It's kind of hard to play the victim role when you were the one, poking the bull, poking, and finally get punched and be like, oh, poor me, and I'm going to sue you. And
from what I saw, she came out to talk. The other one charges it to say, fuck you, like I'm going to say whatever I want. And there's that violation of space that a lot of people, especially fighters, alpha males, females, whatever, they just react, And from what I saw, I just thought, you had it coming to you. First you popped off, and then when the other one came to talk, yeah, of course you weren't going to like what she was going to say. She didn't like what you said either. So when she's coming out to talk, there's no guarantee that Cyborg is going to do it. It didn't look like get to me until Magana kind of stepped there, and then boop, she got a little pop. Hey, you know what? I think everyone has to go. Yeah, I think we can all live with that. We can talk about it here, but we can all live with it. I'm hearing something about a lawsuit and a felony and a this and a that. Man, she's dumb.
I
What
think
did you think?
a lot of people are saying that when you put that much testosterone and estrogen, but no, man, it just comes down to one girl was talking shit, and she ran into the bull, and the bull took care of business. It's simple as that.
Joey?
I think Dan hit the nail on the head. And it was handled extremely wrong. The way Cyborg should have handled it is she should have waited till Angela was alone, like caught her walking somewhere and just came from behind, falsed her, dragged her by the hair somewhere, curb stomped her a couple times, and then left and had an alibi, right? Any Brazilian there would have been like, yeah, she was with me, right? That's the more mature way to handle it.
All right, folks, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We're going to take this break. When we come back, we'll talk to Vinc Pichel. He's our first guest of the day. We'll also talk to Matthew Lopez. He'll be in the second hour. It's MMA Junkie Radio on a Thursday. It's the third day of the Junkie Gathering. We're having a blast here. We got Joey Varner in studio with us and Dann Stupp. We'll be right back after this break.
All right, guys, 2.5.
Yeah,
okay. I didn't hear the music there, Michael, so that was a little confusing.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
It's a beautiful Thursday morning. Chilling here with all my homies from all over the world, man. It's great times. It's really, really nice to see you, Joey Varner. You're a big part of Junkie Nation. Thanks again for stopping by and hanging with us.
No doubt, of course. Wouldn't miss it for the world, brother.
I know, but you know, I saw your face. And I was like, that's a face I need to see, like every month or couple weeks. I haven't seen you in a couple months, so I lit up, you know.
All you gotta do is hit me up, man.
I know. That's my bad.
It's cool.
All right, we're gonna talk to Vinc Pichel, who's fighting Damian Brown. He's coming up here in a couple weeks. Now, Vince has been away from the game for a little bit, but he's ready to rock and roll. We're literally pushing 3 years. I've seen the 3-year version where someone comes back and steamrolls, like Dominic Cruz, for example. And then there's others that's, oh, my God, there's some rust. You know, I didn't expect this. We'll see how Vince is feeling about all this. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Vince? How you doing?
What up? Fuck rust. There ain't no such thing.
That's what's up.
This should be his walkout shirt. Fuck rust.
So of those 3 years that you were gone, I'm sure you at least got better in certain facets of MMA, and you're feeling comfortable and confident going into your fight?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Totally confident. I've been out trained for about 1.5 years to 2 years because of injuries.
Right.
But in this last year alone, I've been so determined, so focused. My game has jumped up tenfold at least.
That's right. Yeah. You've been able to go 90%, 95%, or have you even had to go 100% just to make sure that when you walk into that octagon in New Zealand, things run smooth?
Oh yeah, I mean, when I train 100%. I'm there full blast the whole time. You know, I'm there for 3 hours, and that 3 hours I'm nonstop. I don't stop at all. So when I'm in the gym working, I'm working, man. Like you will rarely see someone that works harder than me. I'm the first one there, the last one to leave.
You can't get those years back, but what you can do is step on the gas as far as your future schedule. Is that what you want to do, fight Damian Brown and just start to line them up, maybe go on one of those cowboy runs, 6 fights in 18 months?
Honestly, yeah, I do. I just got a new 4-fight deal with the UFC. They just hooked me up, so I'm planning on running through this fight, getting another fight hopefully in like a month, even less if I can, and just steamrolling from there, man. Like, right now, I just got so much momentum behind me and so much confidence in my skill and my health that I'm just going to steamroll, man. I'm not stopping.
Vinc Pichel joins us here on MMA Junkie Radio. He fights at UFC Fight Night 110 in Auckland, New Zealand. This fight takes place on June 10th. Sorry, I said that earlier. June 10th, headlined by Mark Hunt and Derek Lewis. I almost said Lennox. Goes, what do you have for Vince?
Vince. You know, we've heard fighters say that sometimes these layoffs can be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Is there any way you can look at it that way, man? Because you mentioned to George that you did learn a little bit during that time.
Honestly, yes, it has been. And I'm the kind of person that, like, I work so hard at everything I do, and I involve myself in it so much that me taking time off sometimes gives me a good refresher. When I come back, I'm the kind of guy that when I take a break and I come back, I don't lose anything. You know what I mean? There's no lost time in between. Like, and sometimes honestly, when I come back better because I'm refreshed. Things are in my head still. I remember things, and like that muscle memory never goes away from me. I'm honestly kind of lucky in that way and blessed that's the kind of person I am. Like, you can ask my coaches, my training partners. Sometimes they even like, "What the fuck have you been doing?" And I'm like, "I just sit on my ass." You know what I mean? They're like, "I can't tell that you haven't been training at all." So in the 2 years that I was gone, I was back in the gym, and that week I was back in the gym, I was wearing out guys that still have been in the gym and have not stopped training. So if that gives you any kind of perspective on the kind of person I am and the determination I am, like that's how I roll.
Vince, whenever people bring you up, sometimes they'll say stuff like the guy from Tough. Is that a label that you want to shed, or do you embrace being a guy that came from The Ultimate Fighter?
Honestly, I embrace it. That's where I got my start in the UFC. And to be honest, before I was even on Tough, I was thinking about quitting fighting. I was just fighting small shows. I was running through people, knocking dudes out in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops. So I was kind of like telling my coaches and Big John that, you know what I mean? I want a big fight. Give me Strikeforce, give me WEC, give me something that's worth my time. Otherwise, I'm going to quit. because I'm sacrificing so much of my life for it. You know what I mean? And it's not that I didn't want to sacrifice for what I wanted and what I love to do. It's that it was becoming more of a burden on me, sacrificing what I was, and I wasn't really getting what I wanted out of it. And then also for me, I wanted to test myself. I wanted to know that this is something that I really am good at, because I'm not the kind of person that wants to do something half-assed. If I'm in something, I'm in there 100%, and that's the kind of person I am. So I wanted to test myself. I wanted to be sure that fighting is something that I'm good at, and something that you know what I mean, that I'm the best in the world, and show people that. And if I'm not, then, you know what I mean, I'll find my outlet somewhere. I'll do something else somewhere else. But I stuck with it. I went on the Ultimate Fighter, and I'm still fighting today because of that. So I totally embrace that.
Vinc Pichel, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's fighting Damian Brown here in a couple weeks. Got aboard of one of them steel birds and fly for about 16 hours. That part's no fun, but at least he's closing down, the time before he can get in there and smash somebody. Follow him on Twitter at FromHellPichel. We also got a couple more questions here from NBC Sports' very own Joey Varner. What's up, Joey? What you got for Vince?
Hey, Vince, with the time off, you've been working on your game. You've been improving a lot of techniques. What element of your game are you most excited about? Are you most excited to showcase for your fans?
Honestly, it's gonna be my striking and my grappling. I've jumped up so much in my striking that in my training I've been kind of hurting my partners a little bit because I'm so sharp right now with my technique. And then in my grappling, I've jumped up so much. I have honestly just got my brown belt the other night. My coach just gave it to me. I've been a purple belt for a few years, and he just gave me my brown belt because of the leaps and bounds that I've been making over the last year and my determination. So I've honestly, when I fight on June 10th, you're gonna kind of see a different person out there. It's gonna be me, but things are gonna be a little bit different.
Vinc Pichel version 2.0.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. All right. Well, listen, thanks for joining us here on the show. I'm glad we were able to work it out. We had some wrinkles yesterday, but thanks for making some time for us. I hope you have a safe flight out to New Zealand, and it's good to have you back in the game, my man.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, Vince. Take care. All right, folks, that's Vinc Pichel. 3 years, he's going to have to answer a lot of questions. And that first one that jumps out is ring rust, and there's been a few that say it ain't there, it doesn't exist. But, and you know what? They pulled it off. I mean, Dominic Cruz pulled it off. But I'll say this, and I don't want to jinx Vince. Dominic steamrolled Takeya Mizugaki, all right? Takeya Mizugaki has seen his better years, and I'm not so sure that that wouldn't have been the eventual outcome anyway, But he pulled it off, and he can say that because still is a great fighter, even though he had that latest loss, still is a great fighter. I've heard it from a few others, but it's far outweighed by the ones that have told me it's a real deal, by good top 10 fighters, former champions, where they go in there and they said, it's the real deal. However, you start to shake it off about the third minute into the fight. Sometimes it even takes a round. They say, I've given up the first round. So although some can say that, it's not, and they proved it by getting the W, of course, what else are they going to say, right? It's far outweighed by those that say, oh, hell no, it exists.
It's not whether it exists or not. It's a case-by-case scenario. It's each fighter. What it really comes down to is being comfortable in the cage. Some guys, when they step in there in the spotlight and everyone's watching, they feel comfortable. They don't need to be in. They can be their first time, their 10th time. They could not have been in there for a year or a month, and they can operate, at their highest level, relaxed and focused. Some guys, they need to continuously be in there and be in there and be in there, so they develop this comfortability in the cage. So I think it's not whether it's real or not. It's just a case-by-case scenario.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, when they think of ring rust, they think of a guy that's just not hitting his timing on his punches, his takedowns.
Plotting, steel blocks on their feet.
Don't underestimate ring rust up here.
Right.
Just the mind.
But that's what sets up everything else you said. That mental predicates that physical. The plotting, the strikes not flowing, that all comes from the mind. And if you feel good in your head, and if you have that performance state of mind, you're in that peak performance zone, then physically it'll show in the cage. But if you're not right in the head, then you're going to see it in the performance.
Now in basketball, for example, I remember two players that I grew up watching told me. I was like, yeah, no, it was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. where they had extended layoffs, and they said, I just need to get my legs back. There's no way they were just going to wake up and suck one day. You know, they just basically needed to get their legs back or whatever, so that was probably for the jumper, the timing. So even they had versions of a rust, you know, but it gets shaken off. Sometimes it took a half, sometimes it took a game or maybe two, depending on that type of layoff. So when I do bring it up to fighters, I don't want them to think that I'm saying, boy, we anticipate you sucking on June 10th. That's not it at all. But I would say that there's just that fluidity, the timing, and that you know, something, the green light telling you in your mind, jab, you know, or kick or do something, and there's that hesitancy where all of a sudden someone popped you. You know, exactly that delay. You know what I mean?
So in the case of basketball, instead of ring rust, would it be court crust?
What were you going to say? I cut you off.
I may have missed it, but did Vince go into much detail? What was the reason for the layoff?
He had
injuries and other stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't get the laundry list, no.
There was a tear.
Oh, there was a tear?
Yeah, down below.
I think of guys like, and he had a few rough fights lately, but when Tamden McCrory first came back from like a 3 or 4 year layoff, he looked really good. It looked like a completely different guy. Like he actually hit puberty and everything during that time off. He was always kind of a long, lanky.
He smashed two guys.
And you know, oh no, when he came back.
Yeah, when he came back, and he may have had a 5-year layoff, I believe.
Yeah.
Tandem McCoy, if we look it up. Let's talk to Cliff in Calgary. We got the international callers stepping up. What's up, Cliff? How you doing? Don't leave us hanging, by the way.
Good. I ain't gonna leave you hanging, man. I just want to say I was listening to yesterday's show, and to me it sounds like you were coaching a football team, like a football coach would coach a football team.
Thank you.
Leaving the orange slices and the participation ribbons at home and trying to take home the W. So congratulations on being a good coach.
That's my guy right there. I got actually a warm reception from Junkie Nation that said I felt like I was one of those guys, but in the end you were just doing a job. So yeah, thank you. I'm starting to feel a lot better. No thanks to Dann Stupp and Goes. Kind of, for a while there they were riding me, but yeah, I feel
we
good.
Still are. You were a terrible coach.
There was
Dann Stupp thinks I'm a terrible blackjack teammate or player, and
He's
a terrible coach.
He's a mope. He could be he could win 20 hands in a row, double down everything. He'd sit there and be like, "It doesn't matter. I'm going to lose the next 20 anyway." Like he just brings down the whole table.
Yeah.
You're a mush? Are you a mush?
No, I'm not a mush. I just hate to lose.
But you
hate to win also. Like, you're only you're happy being miserable.
You're Eeyore.
Continue, Cliff. Cliff, you left us hanging. Oh, there you are.
How do you guys feel about Gustafson?
I think he's a good guy.
I just got a gut feeling that Teixeira might catch this guy, man.
That's what I'm thinking, and I see a plus next to him with a 3 or a 2. He was a plus 300 dog. And I'm not saying Gustafson can't win. I mean, he's going to be in Sweden. He usually rises to the occasions in most of his fights, except the echelon. Jones, Cormier, Davis back in the day. But something just tells me, man, some mileage may have been left behind in some of those fights. And then I think at one point he contemplated a retirement, or there may have been a 2-week retirement.
Exactly.
So, mentally, where are you? And Teixeira is the type of guy that when he's lost, he said, man, I just got to be more athletic. I just got to do this. I got to raise the level of my training. He actually finds fault in why he's losing fights, and he tries to become a better version of himself, and he does take those steps. Now, he'll still get checked by some of those upper echelon guys once again, but still, I think that frame of mind is there, and I feel real comfortable with my Teixeira pick.
Is it all Teixeira? Are you Teixeira too?
No. I picked Gustafson, but I didn't feel too great about it when I put it in, and all the points that he made, I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, that is rough. But I'm gonna stick with my pick.
I just think stylistically, man.
He's got to fight the perfect fight, though.
You got to remember too, though, man. Glover had his tooth knocked out of his face. Like, his tooth went into outer space. I mean, he got starched bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm excited to see it.
Straight up pick, I feel like I'm taking kind of a flyer, but at plus money, if I were betting on the fight, I would.
We got a hard hitter. Yeah, we feel good about that. Good stuff, Cliff. Great call, my man. We got to get going though, but thanks for chiming in.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, folks. Yesterday I brought up the fact that it is a Sunday affair, and it'll be afternoon if you're on the East Coast time zone, a morning affair if you're on the Pacific time zone. So here you go. As we lead into the commercial, by the way, Matthew Lopez coming up, and we're still going to take some calls at 866-522-2846. The UFC Fight Pass starts at 10 a.m. Eastern. The prelims on FS1, 11 a.m. Eastern. And then you got main card at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to take a quick break and a sports update. We'll be right back. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Dann Stupp, Joey Varner in the house.
Dragging on.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
You know, about a week ago, 10 days ago, a noted journalist in the sport had basically implied that the Mousasi negotiations were going well and almost a sure thing, a done deal. And I happened to check in with that camp over the weekend, and I was assured by Mousasi's manager, Gegard Mousasi's manager, Nima Semaphore, that the negotiations aren't going well. I mean, like, basically they're still getting to that point. Mm-hmm. So there's no way that, you know, what was said earlier could assure any MMA fan out there that for, you know, this guy's staying, things are locked down or whatever. Like, they weren't at that stage at all. So he is a free agent. Of course, I got swept up by Junkie Gathering. Didn't get my notes together. Didn't bring that up. But I see on the front page, who was it? Who do we give credit to? Is it Morocco? He's always picking up the phone and hustling.
Stefan?
I think he's got a pretty good relationship.
It was Mike Bond. Mike Bond, okay. Yeah, another hustler. It says, Gegard Mousasi says UFC's contract offer isn't good. They should pay. So I read that. I wasn't too shocked because, again, I had heard, you know, from the manager that we weren't there yet. There was not a deal to be made or anything. So maybe that's why Whitaker and Romero became so relevant a few days ago when that was announced. But, boy, I think that would be a loss by the UFC. To lose Gegard Mousasi, because I think he's an exciting fighter. He's starting to turn up the smack talk. You know, he's fought at different divisions all over the world. He's well-respected. He's well-rounded. Popular figure in Holland, where they're going to later this year. It's going to cost some money, you know, but he does have some credible wins on that resume, man.
The problem is, I think now...
Needle mover?
No.
Oh.
I think, if anything, he's turned that around. Ever since he turned into Darth Mousasi, I love that guy. Just talking trash left and right. He's awesome. I wouldn't let that guy go.
Dana started that little initial pushback of, you know, you start selling out, then we'll talk. And he came back strong saying, I've co-main evented or main evented every fight as a UFC fighter. And going back to Strikeforce, he was no joke.
Marketable,
yeah.
Marketable in U.S. and Europe.
And the whole thing, I mean, up until a few years ago, we forget, like, how it was pulling teeth to get him to say anything at a press conference or an interview. Like, he was doing himself no favors, where it almost became the inside joke that he just, like, would show up at press conferences and look like he just got out of bed with bedhead and didn't really talk and stuff. And I think as he's kind of opened up his personality, especially on social media, I think the hardcore fans always liked him. Now I think the casual fans are starting to dig him, and I think now he realizes, like, okay, I've got some value, and he's just fighting for what he thinks, you know, he deserves, and you can't blame a fighter for that. And especially in that division, as exciting as it's now getting with the interim fight, and I still think Bisping GSP could happen, you know, at some point. Or there's a lot of stuff happening in that division right now, and be a shame.
Didn't it get shut down, the Bisping GSP?
Yeah, but you know how it is.
Yeah, shut down, just like the 125. The girls' division was shut down for tough, and now
John Jones will never headline again.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, so.
By the way, do you guys? What's your thoughts? Do you guys like that fight, GSP Bisping, or you think it holds the division?
I don't like it.
I'd rather see GSP Anderson Silva. Like, I understand why he wants it, because it's a money fight, or at least in his mind, he thinks it's a money fight. But if that were a dead division with not much going on, like, I could understand it. But with Whitaker and Romero and Mousasi, it's like, you don't need to do that fight. There's other marketable fights for GSP.
Perfectly said.
And there's other marketable fights for Bisping with true contenders and guys who...
But I know you won 7 straight, but I'm GSP. I'll be fighting Woodley, take a back seat. I bet you even Maya would go, have at it. You know, there is some respect to that. Yeah. But to do it at a division he's never fought with killers,
much rather seen Anderson and George. Yeah, exactly. But I like it, man. I think it's a winnable fight for George, and I think it's a legacy fight. I think he wins that, and he drops back down. I mean, I've been, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a diehard GSP fan, but I am firm in my belief that he is the pound for pound best mixed martial artist we've ever had. I think way over Fedor. I think way over John Jones at this point. Still, you know,
if he beats Cormier again, let's say
about the interim matchup that was made, but I guess. Your thoughts on that, and just overall what Bisping's become since he's been a champ?
He's wearing it well. You know, he's got the he has that brash personality, the demeanor, the well-spokenness, the look, where he's doing a great job as a champ. If you would have told me even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that Michael Bisping would be the middleweight champion of the world, I would have said, you're high. I'd be like, what are you smoking? But not only did he do it, I mean, he's doing a phenomenal job of selling himself, of promoting himself, of increasing his brand, of selling the sport. I don't think he beats Romero. I don't know if he beats Whitaker.
We didn't think he'd be Rockhold.
No, you got that right. And I'll tell you what, switching gears just a little bit, one guy, and I love it because his name's been, we've all said his name a few different times throughout the show, and 5 months ago it wouldn't have happened, is Whitaker, man.
Yeah.
This dude, he showed up. He's been showing up in a quiet way, and then he just took that next step. And now you can't talk about the middleweight division without talking about Whitaker. And I'm really impressed by that. But
he's electric in there. I mean, it just – he's one of those few guys where you have to watch every second because, he could just destroy someone that quickly once he gets them. And there's not a whole lot of guys like that. But, man, he's a killer, and his last few fights have been amazing.
Mm-hmm. Tony Ferguson. I like him. I like his style. He's in a tough spot there because he feels like he's obviously the best lightweight out there. The current champion's he's not defending. He just became a dad. He's talking boxing. He showed up to the fight versus Habib. Habib didn't make it. Apparently, they were trying to put together a fight with Nate Diaz, and that didn't happen. So it's got to be frustrating for him that he's firing on all cylinders. He's got a win streak, and yet he can't wear a belt. He can't fight for a belt. He can't even get a fight going.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans were starting to rally behind him too. Like he was kind of building that fan base that I think he turned off a lot of people on Tough and stuff, but finally kind of turned that around. And yeah, like all the pieces were falling in place for him, and now he's just there's nothing for him right now, and it stinks.
And I don't think the UFC is chomping at the bit either. He's not, even though he is building this fan base. That fan base is your diehards. They're Junkie Nation. They're the ones who are going to watch every card regardless. He's not a sellable fighter. He does things. He does marketing things, and he tries to be clever, but he's kind of weird. When he makes his comment, except for
because the one thing I've noticed is there's people that just weren't feeling him. But when he performed like he did against Dos Anjos, and he had that gas tank at that high level,
that's the killer.
8,000 feet, there were a lot of people that go, man, he was a G that night. You know what I mean? And what he did to Dos Anjos, who, by the way, just took quite a fall because he had become a beast himself, that impressed a lot of people, even the hardcore naysayers of Ferguson's game. Does the UFC, Ferguson, Whitaker, are those that new wave of could-be stars to replace some of these guys that might have to exit pretty soon?
I think that answer is in the question. Could be.
Could be.
Time will tell.
Yeah. You like Iaquinta and the noise he's making? Is he a guy that maybe could be?
The thing is with the noise he's making, he sounds, I don't want to say neurotic. He sounds unstable. Yeah, he's just jumping over. But I'm good. But they're not saying this. But hey, it's like, I don't know. He's got a person. I thought he lost the Masvidal fight, but I loved him on the mic afterwards. Wait, you booing me?
Yeah.
He starts. Yeah, I loved it. But he came back in so amazing. That knockout was brutal. Knocked out Diego, starched him. I love seeing Diego get knocked out.
when Iaquinta talks, beep, 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 all of a sudden there's just analytics that are popping.
But he's not talking like Bisping's talking and McGregor's talking. He's bitching. He's bitching about the system. He's bitching about the pay. He's bitching about the politics.
That's kind of what's happening in America, though, right now. So I think that's why people are like, yeah, that's right. Pipe up. Talk to the big man like that. I think it's registering.
Okay.
He's kind of yelling without saying anything.
That's it. And so it might register with a lot of people, but it doesn't register with me.
Yeah. There's no focus. Like if there were an end goal kind of with what he was doing, I think he has one in his mind. He needs to communicate it
I
better.
for sure thought he misplayed his hand. I was like, oh, man, what? I'm trying to put the pieces together on what he's trying to do. But, again, just going to the analytics, just, whether it's forums, whether it's the stuff I see on Junkie, the shares, the page views, the this or that, there's something to it. I'm like, why is everyone falling in love with this? And so I'm watching Iaquinta and what he says.
Same reason we watch car crashes, and it's you're a bystander just watching, like, it collapse and stuff. And I think I think there's people entertained by it. I think some people are just, it's amazing that he just goes off the deep end and stuff. Like, I don't think so much they're clicking because they're huge Ally Aquinta fans and he's sticking it to the man and stuff. It's just kind of like, what's he saying now? Like, so I wish he focused and had, like I don't think he could even communicate what his end game is for all this bitching and stuff other than just, I deserve more. Well, what exactly do you want? And I don't think he's really communicated that. And that's where a guy like Michael Bisping, I think, he's got an end goal. He knows how to sell it. He knows how to say it, and he gets what he wants because of it. I think a guy like Al just needs to focus in a little more because, like you say, he's just kind of all over the place with the rambling. And it's entertaining. It's good for traffic, but I don't think he's doing anything to necessarily help himself get what he wants.
But I've noticed he hasn't been fired yet, so that must mean they see some value to it. It's like, we'll put up with it, get this guy a fight or whatever, and that's that. But I'm truly shocked at how he's been able to pull it off, and I get a kick out of the dude. I really do. Like you said, why you fucking booing me? And just the things he say. But
history is that
I'm trying to watch just to see who it's going to be, who's going to pop. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 of them that pop at the same time and become that new wave of stuff. I'm watching Joanna. Like, on the one hand, I really think, oh my God, she's going to be it. But she's yet to main event. She's still co-main eventing. She's yet to main event. And, she knows English. She's a G. She's got that big 0 under the L column. But it's still not that pay-per-view superstardom.
She kills me, man.
You don't like her?
No. You know what? I don't like her personally. Just dealings with her on the show.
Yeah.
But this is why it kills me, is because without that, she might be one of my favorite fighters. I love her flow.
Is that something you can speak on?
I love.
Like what
no,
was so bad,
she was just a
diva.
No, a CUNT.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, see you there you go. I was trying to think of that. I'm trying to. What's the thing? Yeah, see you next Tuesday. Yeah.
How so?
Well, it wasn't so bad with everyone. So I was the producer, and I was on the Brazilian team.
And by the way, how many seasons did you produce?
6.
Okay, all right. So
yeah.
You know how other coaches have acted, and she stood out. All right.
Yeah, no, and it was really just towards me, and she didn't like me because I was the producer for the Claudia's team because I speak Portuguese, so none of her coaches really spoke any English. So I was with them for everything. I'm helping them, with everything, and because of that, she saw me as Team Claudia, Team Gadella. And so she just she'd walk by and she'd be like, I'd be standing, she'd be mean mugging me, and she just snide. I mean, basically the way she treated Claudia and her team, she carried that over to treat me. And, it's like Drysdale, Drysdale's one of my best buds, he's telling her, like, this is my dude, he's awesome. And she's like, I don't care, and so she's just.
Say it in her accent. How'd she say
I don't care. I fuck him. He's not good. He's fucking Team Claudia. I don't care. Fuck everybody. I'm the champ. You say my name. You call me Joanna Champ. That's my name. So yeah, but it kills me because without that experience, I'm like, bro, have you ever really seen me have a bad interaction with anybody?
No.
Like I literally my whole life. Unless it was like getting into street fights with random people when I was a kid, I can get along with 99.9% of every. I don't get along. I don't not get along with anybody. I'm just. I was about to say I'm cool, but that sounds like super egotistical. I'm just a cool guy. No, I get along. I'm fun. I'm not a dick. And she was just a see you next Tuesday, man, which ruined it though because I love her style. I love watching it. Like there's that style.
Yeah.
To me, watching guys, any martial artist, hands up, chin down, elbows in, good footwork, working off all polished technique, long, straight jab.
Going forward, but what about going backwards? Do you like that her head just doesn't move? And a lot of times she's using her reach, but I don't like that she leaves that chin out a little.
Okay, but what she does do when she doesn't go backwards, she retreats. She'll disengage and then she'll circle and reset.
But Andrade and all the other girls that have clipped her, it's because the chin's hanging out.
But look, I'm switching sports. This is a point I was making to Sammy why I like Lomachenko better than Terrence Crawford. But Terrence Crawford, same thing. Like he'll circle out, he'll pull. He was getting hit with big right hooks by what's his name that he fought Diaz this last weekend. So. I'm with you on that, but just the flow, the hands up, chins down, light on the toes, circle out. Jab to the head. Feint the jab, low kick. Jab, high kick. body, head, then combination. Multi-level attacking, pecking at range, with attack to the head, attack to the leg, attack to the body, feint, and then combo, and then circle. I love that flow. I love if she mixed in some takedowns too, I think it'd be just phenomenal.
We got to take this break. Matthew Lopez is headed our way. We'll talk to him in just a few minutes. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. We have Dann Stupp, editor-in-chief of MMA Junkie, in the house, and NBC Sports' own Joey Varner. Stay close, folks. See you soon.
After Matt.
Yep, for sure.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
All right, folks. We're coming down the home stretch of another fine edition of MMA Junkie Radio, closing in on 2,500 shows sometime later this summer. Join us for the ride. You're a little late if you're just joining because we banked 2,454 shows after today.
We'll still take you, though.
Yeah, we'll still take you. The bandwagon has room. All right, we're going to be joined now by Matthew Lopez. This is what I like about Matthew Lopez. He only has one loss. That loss stung him. I become fans of people that are competitive like that, where they just like, no, man, it can't be like this. What did I do wrong? Let's fix it. Let's get back on the horse and deliver the goods, and if you follow him on social media, you can tell, man, he didn't like that, and he wants to right that wrong and get back in the win column. He's traveling down to Brazil. That's where his next fight is, and it's right around the corner. Let's talk to him here. Matthew Lopez, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me.
Man, thank you for joining us. Did I nail it, Matthew? Losing did not sit well with you, I could tell.
You did. I think, growing up wrestling and being a competitor my whole life, losing is probably the worst thing that could happen to me. So You hit it right on the head, and eventually I will come back full circle and beat Ronnie eventually.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you want that back at some point. In the meantime,
I don't care. I don't care if I have the belt. I want that fight. I want to, like you said, I want to right that wrong.
Uh-huh. Well, you got Gianni Eduardo ahead of you, another Brazilian, in Brazil.
Yep.
So let's focus on that. But we will touch back on Haniaya. You got Johnny Eduardo ahead of you, fighting in Brazil. You know, we've been talking to a few other Americans that are heading down there, and I just want to get your quick thoughts. Do you embrace that, I guess, the fact that you will be a heel, to borrow a pro wrestling term? You know, the fans are going to tell you you're going to die and all that, but tell me about it.
It's kind of indifferent to me. I'm excited for the atmosphere and the boos and the cheers and the rowdiness of the crowd. I'm not excited to travel and you know, do the 10-hour, 12-hour flight down there. But you know, it comes with the territory. You know, I got a good opponent in Johnny Eduardo, is ranked number 10. So, you know, I have to take it for what it is.
Somebody I respect in the sport a lot, who shall remain nameless. No, I can't. He's public about it. Like, for example, there's an odds maker named Joey Odessa who's told me a lot of the Brazilians are front runners. So they're kicking you and they're punching you and they get the crowd into it. And if they're front running and if they're winning, tough as can be, world champions. But the minute you check them and you out-tough them and you start to break them, they break as fast as anyone. Have you seen that as well in Johnny Eduardo when you've been scouting them?
That is funny that you say that. So I don't watch a lot of video, but I've noticed that just by my observation of the other Brazilian fighters is that if you, like you said, if you let them get into a lead and you let them get any kind of rhythm or momentum going, it's going to be a long night for you. But once they know that they're in for a dogfight, they're going to be in there for 15 hard minutes. Most of them will wilt and won't want to be in there for that kind of fight, you know. So you hit it right on the head. That's funny.
It's almost like in basketball, that first hard foul, or in football, you know what I mean, when you hit the quarterback and let them know, hey, it's going to be a long day, brother. You may win, but you're going to feel this. Yeah, exactly. Matthew.
Exactly.
Matthew Lopez joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio. Follow him on Twitter at MattLopez135. He's on the UFC 212 card, headlined by Aldo and Holloway. That's going to be one hell of a scrap, too. All right, Goes, what do you have for Matthew Lopez?
Matthew, during your streak, you had 7 straight victories by finish, and that's very tough to do. The finishing part, can it become addicting?
Yeah, it can be. I was watching, I was watching The Ultimate Fighter last night, and one of the guys was just like going hard for that submission in the first round, and I was like, he's going to be done in the second round. He's going to be blown out. And that you kind of get into that addiction where you're fishing for the finish the whole time instead of letting it come naturally, instead of letting it come organically. You know, finishes are going to come when they come if you're at the right moment, right time. But if you keep on forcing them, that's when you get tired. That's when you get fatigued. So just got to let them happen.
Can you talk a little bit about, once you did get the loss, what would you say was the biggest lesson, and who helped you bounce back from that?
I think the biggest lesson was don't let the moment overcome you, I guess, because I didn't think that just being in the UFC and fighting for the UFC was that big of a deal. But once I stepped in the cage, you know, it was nerve-wracking, and then my nerves got to me, and I had an adrenaline dump. Overcoming that, I think that was my own doing. I think I overcame it on my own. Just knowing that the UFC is big, and enjoying the process, enjoying the moment, taking everything in, and not letting it overtake me.
We also have Joey Varner from NBC Sports here with us. He's co-hosting today's episode. Joey, what do you have for Matthew Lopez?
Hey, Matt, I just wanted to talk to you about the stylistic matchup here between you and Eduardo. You know, I think you've definitely got a big advantage in the offensive side of the wrestling. The Novo União guys have done a phenomenal job of their takedown defense, of using the cage, a lot of good wrestlers will use the cage to get an opponent down. Well, they flipped it on its head. They've kind of started using that cage, created their own, recipe to use the cage to stay standing, to keep the fight on their feet. So just technically speaking, how do you see this fight going, and what do you have to do to make sure that you get that W?
I honestly think that I'm faster and I'm more powerful than him on the feet as well. I think if I can get his attention on the feet with some hard punches and some combinations, that the takedowns are going to be a little bit easier. Even if I don't think that there's another 135er in the UFC that can stop my takedowns. I truly believe I'm the best wrestler in 135. So I don't think the takedowns are going to be the issue. So it's just getting his attention on the feet, just getting him to respect my punching power. That'll be where I see success at.
Matthew, one last question before we let you go. I'm just curious. 10-hour flight. What are you going to do, man? Listen to music? Sleep? You already got some movies lined up? How do you let the time pass?
Me and my girlfriend just went to Target, and I stocked up on some ZQL. That's how I let the time pass. I'm going to be passed out the whole time.
Did you say ZQL?
Yeah.
All right. I guess that'll do it. Yeah. Just be careful. Make sure all that stuff's cleared through USADA. But I guess you'll.
I've already double checked that.
All right, my man. Well, thanks for joining us here on the show. We appreciate it. Have a safe flight to Brazil, and we will definitely be tuning in to UFC 212. Matthew Lopez getting down versus Johnny Eduardo. Thanks, brother.
Thanks again for having me, guys.
All right, see ya. Big shout out to Randall Allman for lining that one up. Shout out to Ed Cap for lining up the Vinc Pichel interview. Fist bump to both guys. Why are you laughing, Joey?
Because Randall.
Oh, Randall.
Randall, Pink Floyd.
Hey, you lit up a little bit when I said it. And that fight card will be headlined by Aldo and Holloway. Is that the one that you're looking forward to the most this summer?
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, no.
Jones Cormier?
No, I'm gonna switch sports. Salido, Lomachenko 2, the rematch. That's what I'm most excited about. Yeah, I love. Man,
if you're gonna go boxing, what about Kovalev and Ward 2?
Nah.
No?
I mean, I'm going to watch it, but the first fight wasn't that exciing. Unless Kovalev clips him, I see a similar.
Well, yeah.
It just wasn't an exciting fight.
Yeah, okay.
But Holloway and Jose, I'm definitely amped about. I like Jose in that fight.
Dan and Goes, what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, but that's not. We got a long way to get that one right.
Yeah. I'm going to hate myself for saying it, but Jones Cormier.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be any different than the first?
If the same John Jones shows up that fought OSP coming off a break, I think Daniel can take that guy.
Dan Stupp, what are you looking forward to the most?
I'm sorry.
What fight this summer are you looking forward to the most?
DC Jones.
Yeah.
I kind of want resolution to that whole thing. I'm not as excited about whoever GSP fights. Him. I'm glad he's coming back, but I don't know. I think DC Jones is the one for me this summer.
I think it's Aldo and Holloway for me, and
I mean, it's guaranteed fireworks, right?
Who do you like in Aldo Holloway?
Aldo did something to Edgar that I just didn't think he was going to come back like he did from Conor.
That's a good point.
When he put on Edgar, I was like, wow. Like if that's what lit his fire, then I got to believe he's just so fast. His defense as well is really solid. He's great with the leg kicks. He's got incredible speed. Now that said, Holloway also got beat by McGregor, but peeled off like 9 or 10 straight, and he just looks like a monster out there. I mean, how does he cut down to 145 for starters? He's just towering over guys. He's mean. He's confident. Someone's got to chop these champions down. Aside from GSP, I don't remember too many guys that exit on top like that. Someone has your number. This might be it. But you guys want an answer. You don't want me to ride that fence. So I'll tell you, I think it's still Aldo until someone proves to me, like, that it wasn't Aldo. So I'll ride with Aldo. That's who I would put on my staff picks if I had to turn it in today. But we're going to go back and forth. I'm going to get opinions from everyone, and I may change my mind. This is one where I may flip-flop.
I think you talked me into that fight,
yeah.
so now and thankfully we don't have to wait long for that one.
Mm-hmm. Around the corner.
The Aldo and that showed up versus Frankie, that dude is nasty. Stylistically, just watch the way Max strikes. Watch the way he puts his punches together when he comes forward. And watch the way Aldo, I just think Aldo's just on another level when it comes to the style of fighting they have. I think Aldo's just on another level.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about a few other fights that are sneaking up on us that could probably be included in this list of what we're looking forward to the most. And we'll throw some boxing in there as well, but for sure focus on the MMA. All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. Pay some bills. We'll be right back.
link into the MMA Junkie Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter.com at MMA Junkie Radio. This is MMA Junkie Radio. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, here's a few other top matchups that are happening in our sport for you guys to chew on and tell me if you're looking forward to them. How about some love for Bellator, Bader and Davis? They fought once before with Bader getting the win. Davis has definitely turned it around since coming over to Bellator, becoming the world champion, taking down that one-night four-man tournament. It's a pay-per-view for them, and it's a quality champion with a quality opponent.
That's number 3 versus number 4 in our rankings.
Yeah, you guys digging that?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be the most compelling matchup. Like, we've seen some duds with these guys, but it's hard not to get excited when you have 2 top 5 guys fighting each other, especially not in the UFC.
Let me stop you right there. In the UFC, I felt like there was some conservatism from both guys, like where the wins are stressed, right?
Yeah.
And here with, maybe, I don't know, so apparently some guys are cashing bigger checks, and over here, you lose, they go, come here, man, let me give you a hug, and then we'll talk about your next matchup. It seems like, I don't know, it seems like some guys tend to let a little bit more loose in the Bellator cage, but do you think it may actually deliver? I mean, has a good chance to deliver?
I mean, it's a good point. I think if you're in the UFC, it's all about the title and getting the title. And I think these guys, when you kind of voluntarily leave the UFC or get a new home, I mean, a Bellator world title is great, but that doesn't necessarily say you're number 1 in the world. So it's more about, I don't want to say you have nothing to lose if you're those guys, but you kind of have nothing to lose. It's not like, well, if I lose this fight, then I'm out of the title picture and I've lost my opportunity. And I think these guys can go in and fight not feeling that kind of pressure, and like you said, I think, and we've seen it with like Paul Daly and some other guys, like you can lose a big fight in Bellator and you've lost like no traction with Coker and Rich Chow and those guys. It's like, we still got big fights for you. We'll still set you up. And it's hard to get that in the UFC sometimes.
Especially if they put on a great performance.
Mm-hmm. Or if you charge someone cage side right after you lose a fight. So,
you like that fight?
No.
I
mean, like Dan said, I do like the fact that there's the number 3 and number 4 guy aren't in the UFC and they're fighting. But even without seeing the first fight, I would just look at it stylistically and say, now they could prove us wrong. They could prove me wrong. But just stylistically, it doesn't make the most exciting fight. I mean, Bader, his beard isn't what it once was, so he's not trying to take a lot of shots. So when you got one guy who's not trying to take a lot of shots, he's going to try to make this a grappling fight. He's a solid wrestler. Phil Davis isn't the most exciting striking. His wins come from wrestling. So it's going to be – I just don't see it being – and I like a good grappling match. Don't get me wrong. Like, throw it back to Nick Diaz and Diego Sanchez. They remind me of the –
couple lizards.
The dog and the
Diego
cat.
said, right?
Remember the dog and the cat in Looney Tunes, and they just roll. I love a grappling match like that. But this seems like a positional battle where one guy, secures a position and rides.
Although the chicken and
Peter
took
Griffin
it to another level.
Yeah,
who was it?
Foghorn Leghorn used to have some good ones. By the way, do any of you guys owe money to the cartel? What is this dude? He's just standing right there.
Oh, dude, he's ready to collect.
That's Ray from San Antonio, and I think the Spurs have a pulse left, a heartbeat, but it's basically over. Wait. Yeah, they're done, right?
Done.
They're done.
Why is he
no,
still
they're
walking?
not. They're not done. I mean, they still live in the hat.
Yeah, but the season's over. Put it away.
I guess.
We're gonna buy him a. We're gonna buy him a Warriors hat while he's here.
I was tempted to roll in with the junkie with the Manchester jersey again. Just here I am. They won yesterday, but it's over. All right, how about TJ and Cody when it comes together? You guys looking forward to that one?
I'm gonna need a little bit more build up for that one again.
What?
Yeah, it's just it's kind of like when
the
John
season's
Jones
not doing it.
Yeah, but that's gonna go away.
The eagle snatching the snake.
It's gonna go away.
Eagle snatches.
I need him to do it all over again.
What?
But it'll be a good fight.
You think it'll be a good fight?
I think so.
I still can't get over. It's always been in the back of my head. It always it always affects all my picks with TJ is the Dotson knockout. And so when
that was 5 years ago, though.
It was 5 years ago, but when you're a 35er,
seems
you
to be a
get
complete
knocked
different
out.
fighter, though. Now, like I think he recognizes, I mean, I think
I don't know, man. When you get starched by a 25er, that's always there, and you got a guy in Cody who I think is just as good a striker as TJ, if not better. I don't know. That's my 2 cents, George.
Here's a couple that got signed yesterday. Tell me what you think of these. UFC 214, Korean Zombie versus Ricardo Lamas.
Love it.
And Aljamain Sterling versus Renan Barão.
I love both those.
Solid matchups, huh? So Cormier and Jones, the possibility of Cyborg and Megan Anderson or who knows what. These two matchups
starting to shape together.
Looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Travis Brown gets another fight. He meets Alexei Olenek at UFC 213. He fights a lot in Vegas. He fights a lot on pay-per-views. Boy, it sure helps to be Ronda Rousey's fiance. There's some pull. There's got to be some pull there.
I mean, he's a legit heavyweight. He gets a lot of crap for being Mr. Rousey, but that's a legit dude.
Like, why is Derek Lewis hopping on a plane 16 hours, going this way, going to Germany? I would think he'd catch a little bit more of a break.
To headline, because the cards need headliners like that, and I think with 3 losses, Travis Brown can't headline it. He's still a legit dude. But, no, I mean, I think...
You don't think there's any benefit at all that he gets? Or even Conor McGregor's boys for being boys with McGregor and him being a fiancé to Rousey that, all right, let's just...
I think if he were getting preferential treatment, he would be headlining and Derek Lewis wouldn't be. I think we saw that with Lobov. I think it'd be like that. I think it's just dumb luck the way it worked out, and I don't think they're really... I don't think...
I don't think he's an asshole, and I'm not coming down on him as a person at all or anything. I'm just saying every time I announce his matchup, it always just seems like conveniently close around and well, let's look at it here. He had UFC 200 on Tate versus Nunez versus Velasquez, didn't go well. And then he got on 203, so with Miocic and Overeem, shadowing the title picture there. He lost to Verdum, and now he's back. Then he got his own fight versus Lewis off a 2-fight losing streak, getting mauled by Velasquez, and then even Verdum just did a number on him, yet he still got the headline against Lewis, and then now he just gets a convenient, nice Vegas.
I don't think they were doing Brown a favor there. I think they were doing Lewis a favor.
Well, a second ago you said if they were doing him a favor, he'd be out there headlining. He was headlining off a 2-fight losing streak.
Yeah,
what he's saying is the bone was thrown to Lewis there, not Travis Brown.
Feeding him
Travis Brown got fed. He got set up. He was supposed to lose that fight.
Yeah,
I think that's how the UFC was looking at it, or at least if in worst case scenario, it gives Brown some new life because he just So I think that was more about Derek Lewis than it was Travis Brown.
It's a division that needs life, and I think that's why we're seeing the matchup.
All right. It still looks like favors are being cashed.
Coach is going to blow up.
No.
George playing the Twitter troll role over here, like Mr. Rousey gets all the opportunity.
Well,
Twitter troll.
All right, I will just cash in my chips and say, all right, I lost that battle.
You better not cash in your chips. You better close that door and lock it.
Jordan Mean versus Bilal Muhammad. I mean, we're past fights looking forward to.
I like that fight too. That's a fan favorite.
That's fun.
That's fireworks.
Really?
I love watching Bilal.
Oh, okay.
And I love Mean too.
I wasn't trying to put them on the level of Cormier and Jones, or I thought you guys were going to shoot me down.
No, I just saw that come through this morning. I was like, damn, that's fun.
That's a fun fight.
When did they never not go forward? I mean, two guys are going to bang right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to let them bang, bro.
Let's get your thoughts. Let's get your thoughts on Johnson declining Dillashaw wanting to drop to 25 and be the historical opponent for when he may break Anderson's record for most title defenses.
We talked about that a lot yesterday.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why he would. That makes no sense to me.
Why Johnson would decline it?
Yeah.
So he says
he
doesn't think somebody who hasn't fought at 25 should just get that privilege. He wants to extend it to Ray Borg, who's won 2 straight and 4 out of 5.
Okay, but Johnson, are you? To me, that makes me wonder. Are you afraid? Do you see something stylistically in TJ because that's more money for you? TJ is going to, if I assume DJ is getting back end points, right? He's got to be getting some kind of points. Am I right?
I think it's 2 things. I think one, it's DJ sticking up for the flyweight division, which has kind of been shoved aside for years, and now he's finally in a position to stand up for the guys who have been right now in the 125-pound division. But I think it's also a negotiating tactic, and I'm sure he knows the Dillashaw fight is more money, could be more
That's
money
it right
and
there.
stuff. And so I think he downplays the significance until people and fans are demanding it, and hopefully and Demetrius deserves a big paycheck. We were talking about that yesterday. It's like I understand he's not a big pay-per-view draw and stuff like that right now. But if you're the top pound-for-pound fighter and you're about to break the hardest record to break in MMA, you deserve a big payday for that.
Amen.
So I don't mind him putting his foot down and trying to get what's his.
Joey, so people can follow you on Twitter at JoeyVMMA, but tell me what else you got going on. So World Series is kind of slowing down. They're going to change things up, I guess, in 2018. Will you be a part of that?
Yeah. I got a lot of things going on with PFL. I guess you call them now. Commentating. Actually, I commentate boxing on CBS as well. Mm-hmm. So I do MMA on NBC, boxing on CBS. Not sure 100% if I'm going to produce this season Ultimate Fighter. I got a bunch of other stuff. Like I was telling him, I told you guys too, I've been getting into internet marketing and the website stuff. And so, I've got.
Is there anything to plug there?
Not yet.
Oh,
I'm still grinding, man. It's a hustle.
Right.
I got a buddy. He's kind of mentoring me, and he's got like 7-8 websites right now. Just sold one. He's got 5 that he's making. I mean, he's a black belt in this stuff. He's really, really sharp. And so he's kind of taking me under his wing. And I'm trying to,
What belt are you right now? White?
I would say I'm a blue belt with some stripes. I know WordPress now. I built a couple sites. I know a little bit of coding. I know Google Analytics. I know AdSense. So I'm
that's all that you got the tools.
I got the tools. Now I'm just sharpening them. I'm honing them, and I'm finding I'm trying to find niches that work. It's a tough game. It really comes down to throwing shit against the wall. But
sounds like he might be a purple. Maybe sandbagging over there.
No, because purple belt means more money.
Oh.
Yeah, purple belt means I'm making some money. Like I'm making money right now, but I'm, if I have to spend $1,000 to make $1,200. I got to spend $3,000 to make $3,500. So it's not, it's not coming yet. It's close. But it's just a matter of time. And I get this. It's a great way to get this passive income coming up, but it's a whole other level of income as well, where you spend a couple hours a day on side projects that are paying you just as much, if not more, than all your other main gigs.
Awesome, man.
Thank you.
Always grinding. We need to get you more often.
Man,
like I
first
said.
Fraggle Rock. But call me, man. I'll be getting people be tagging me in posts. When are you gonna host? When are you gonna co-host? And I'll tag you both. Yeah, just hit these guys up. And then I'm like looking at my phone, like that was me asking to come on, and then I'm just like playing like I'm so Rory.
All right, we'll make
we
it.
got you on, didn't we?
We'll definitely make it happen. Goes.
And they still say nothing as they do that. They just look at you like,
what do you want from us?
Goes 2 minutes left here. So tonight we have Purple Rain.
Yeah.
Is that public, right? People can come out.
Anybody
Anybody can come out and join. And have you seen that show yet or not?
No, I have not.
So we
It's
don't
at
know.
the Westgate, but I've heard nothing but good things.
Great reviews. The guy gets
and
down.
you can see, on YouTube, you can look and see clips, and it's pretty legit.
Royal Rumble Party tomorrow night, 9 p.m.
Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. You down, Joey? You
9
gonna be there?
I already told you, man.
1923.
At the Bourbon Bar?
Bourbon Bar, right?
All
yeah.
right. You got it right.
What else
I
can
would
you
say,
announce about Junkie Gathering?
Get there early because you're not going to want to miss the beginning of our Bourbon Bar party.
Starts at 9, so get there early.
Yeah.
Doors
sure
open
you're
at
in
8 or something?
The doors open like at 7 or something like that. It's a cool place. You're going to want to hang out. And then tomorrow, there's that. Texas State Brazil after the show. Saturday is trivia night at Slice at 3:45. And then after that, we all go see Fluffy.
What's Fluffy? Oh, yeah, I got you.
Gabriel Iglesias.
1.
All right. We are out of here, folks. Big thanks to Vinc Pichel and Matthew Lopez for joining us on today's show. Vinc Pichel's traveling to Auckland, New Zealand to end a 3-year layoff against Damian Brown. Matthew Lopez travels to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He will be encountering Johnny Eduardo. We definitely look forward to that. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. For Joey and Dan and the other Danny, goes Chris back east. I'm George. Have a nice day. Go out there and be champions.
Sunshine since I don't know when I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps